So, hello everybody. This is a video I figured I'd make, again, cleaning out the shop. Had all these wonderful pistons out, and realized, oh, this would be a great video, and a great way to show you guys how pistons look in saws after they've been run, what to look for, what to watch out for, and what causes people's saws to blow up. Let's start over here. This is, as far as I'm aware, a piston that's never been used. I haven't ran it, and I did do some grinding on the bottom just to smooth it out, lighten it up a little. But this is just for an 038 AV mag. It's just basic piston. This is what they look like new. No deep scratches, no gouges, nothing. Good clean piston. This is a piston that's been ran. I had probably maybe 100,000 board feet through the saw at this point. This is an 044 piston, 044 steel 044 AV, not AV Super, steel 044 Magnum. There it is. Piston that I put into a steel 038 AV Super. Did a bit of work to it. I had to cut the skirt and low and do some other stuff, but it ran great. This is a, there you go, sawsalvage.com or the Dukes. It's a moly-coated piston, and it ran great. This is what a moly-coated piston looks like after a fair bit of use. Again, it did maybe a couple 100,000 board feet, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. At most, 250,000 board feet, not a ton of wear. And again, you can still see the cross-hatching. Yet the moly coating is starting to wear out, but this is what to look for. The reason I keep this is because it shows you exactly where pistons were first. That bottom edge. Notice how that shiny bare aluminum that's almost reflective, whereas the rest is the dark gray moly color. That's because that bottom edge of the piston, this is the exhaust side. If you can't tell, just look for the two pins. This is the intake side. The pins are always on the intake side. This is the edge that wears first. And as you can see, this saw, no scratches, no gouges, meaning the air filtration was working well. This is the exhaust side. One part about this piston that's kind of cool, you can see the normal wear along the bottom edge, but you also have that weird wear spot right there. If you know what causes that, leave it in the comments. I want to see if anyone else knows why sometimes pistons on the exhaust side specifically will wear right there. Something most people don't think about that you never really get to see. And up top, that's a decent carbon buildup. That's about as much as carbon buildup as I see with the specific oil I run. Next up. This is a steel 038 AV Super piston. Came out of the saw that I put that in. This, I couldn't even begin to guess how many board feet this saw had cut. Let's put it this way. There was more play in this than I've ever seen, and you could actually hear it rattling when the saw ran. And not just the low, anyone could hear it. It was actually very loud. That's why I had to replace it. Again, exhaust side, perfect wear pattern. Wear. This time the shiny spot, instead of stopping at the bottom 1/4 inch, the wear pattern goes all the way up to the top, and it's reflective all the way up to the top 3/4 of it. On the intake side, as you can see right there, probably a piece of sawdust. But overall, didn't eat a ton of fines. It's not completely worn out. It's just worn out. Seen a lot of use. Tried scraping some of the carbon off, but left that spot right there where you can really see just how thick the carbon was. Some of the flakes that chipped off of that were close to 20 thousandths of an inch thick. The saw had been ran by a friend of mine for years with all different kinds of oils, so the carbon buildup in it was actually fairly significant. This is what a piston looks like when it needs to be replaced. This, on the intake side, you can see one scratch, again, more than likely ingested something. But if you look closely, see that black streaking? That shows it wasn't actually something being ingested. Shows it really good over here and here. That black streaking is actually carbon scoring. That's because the cylinder, again, I've cleaned the top because I was going to try to reuse it just because 266 pistons aren't the easiest to come by, but decided it's not worth it. But carbon scoring is where so much carbon builds up, usually in the exhaust port. All these cylinders are clean. But builds up in the exhaust port, usually either on the roof or the floor, and pieces of it drop out, get sucked back in, and go up and down. And it can happen in the front or in the back of the cylinder, causing those scratches you see on the pistons. This piston still held compression, it still ran, but you could feel it was starting to get a little low on compression, and it just didn't run quite as good as it used to. That's a piston that should be replaced. This came out of my steel 046. It's just a highway pop-up. And you can see just how shiny it got and that little bit of scratching. This piston's had a ton of piston work done to it. I really lightened this thing up. But again, this was actually caused by a friend of mine who was running my saw, and at the time I really didn't care about it because I had a new piston cylinder in the mail. I just was like, yeah, just run it. I know it's probably gonna blow up, but I got all new parts for it, so just run the thing. If it pops, it pops. Just shut it down if it does start to go. And he did, and this is what happens. Just saw it couldn't handle the heat. I had relatively aggressive porting in it, but the piston just couldn't shed the heat. Piston on the exhaust side expanded and just started transferring aluminum. Yeah, try not to do that with a good piston. Again, as you can see, intake side looks fine. Can see it starting to get a little bit of wear, but again, just started to overheat. And again, this ran fine. It still would run. I took it out just because I got a new piston and cylinder. And then we come to this. This is a catastrophic failure. This is by far the most common failure I see in two-stroke equipment in general. As you can see, all scored up, only on the exhaust side. Intake side, yeah, there is some wear, some accelerated wear, but exhaust side, completely scored up, rough to the touch. Rings are actually stuck in the ring glands. You can see right there, they're stuck. Back here they stick out, and if you push on it, nothing. Those rings are fully stuck. See that black marks? That shows there was a bit of carbon scoring and carbon transfer. But the reason this happened was the saw was ran lean due to failing crank seals. The saw ran lean, it probably went lean in the cut. All of a sudden, revs started to climb, push hard on the saw, heat builds up more, revs start to climb higher, push down more, and next thing you know, this is what happens. On this piston, the aluminum got so hot that it started to not melt fully, but soften up to the point where it started to stick to the cylinder of the saw. And it got so hot that when it got malleable, it was able to push the aluminum up, in some places over the rings, but actually compress the ring gland on the exhaust side to the point where it sticks the rings and you lose compression. This is a catastrophic failure. This needed to be replaced. The cylinder, I had to sand all the aluminum transfer out of, and, well, here's the cylinder. You can see the exhaust side, the chrome failed first. Yeah, I did some really crazy pouring to it, but that's a topic for a different day. That's where the aluminum started showing through the chrome plating. Really sad. One of these days, I'm going to send this out to be replayed because this was an awesome cylinder. topic for a different day. This is a catastrophic failure. You can tell this was ran lean and not just straight gas, because if it was straight gas, that same pattern would be on the intake side as well, around the whole piston. So that shows the most common failures. And this piston right here, I can use it to show the other common failure I see, which is you'll get a straight line just like that, but will be over right here. On the 266s, it's pretty much right where that transfer port through the piston is, through the window. It's basically right on that. You'll get a straight line just like that, about that wide, right there, and it will stick the ring right there. What causes that is people running the saw before it's properly warmed up. I know I'm guilty of not always letting my saws warm up as long as I probably should, but my saws, with how hot I pour them, they tend to warm up fairly fast, and I'm still cognizant of it. If you get a straight line like that, that means the saw was just ran right from cold and not given a chance to warm up. That has the same effect as this. Your compression drops down to nothing. You lose compression. You lose fire, which in turn means your saw no longer runs. Same thing with this. If that happens, a lot of times you can save the cylinder if you sand the chrome plating, but it's hit and miss. But hope this video helps you guys as to what to look for when looking at pistons from a chainsaw, a weed whacker, or really any two-stroke piece of equipment. These are just some of the ones I've kept over the years just because they're kind of interesting. They all tell a different story. But thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I'm always happy to help you guys. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching and have a great night. Thank you.